It's been a while I've been thinking of this. Why is it that people never have the courage to just begin whenever they have an idea? It's really a challenge. I noticed it in my own personal life, and I saw how I could be able to overcome these things, because the difference between who you are today and the who you are in 10 years time is just the simple steps, the actions that you begin to take along the way. It's not much about a magic moment that is going to come in to change your life. It doesn't always happen in that manner. There's always something in between that you have to do in order to significantly shift the outcomes of your life. This is a practical session where you are going to see how you can take these principles, implement them, where you've seen that there was a shortage, where you're seeing that there was something that you're missing. You can be able to practice and see a significant change, like I've always been doing in all the other sessions. Tonight is just one of the sessions where there's going to be a significant knowledge full lesson. So let's just go deep. But today we're dealing with don't wait, start now. This is our theme. This is our theme for tonight's program. Why is it that you shouldn't wait? Why is it that you should start now? One thing you should understand is the rich people, the poor people are all outcomes of a particular lifestyle, are all outcomes of a particular life that they choose, a particular path that they choose. So you begin to see that it is not much about what happens, it is more about what they do to cause the outcomes to provoke the outcomes to begin to happen. Why is it that whenever people are standing up to speak, why is it that others are actually always afraid? Why is it that others are always shy? Why is it that others are always behind the stage? Why is it that others have ideas but don't want to implement it? Why is it that others want to write books but they don't start? Why is it that people have ideas, new inventions, new things that is going to change the way we live our lifestyle, that is going to improve our lifestyle in one way or the other? Why is it that they never take action? This is something very pertinent, very, very pertinent. The thing is, in school, we don't really learn this kind of things. These are things that life in itself teaches you. He is not going to come and sit you down. He's going to show you through circumstances that you have to do something about the situations that you are experiencing. If there is an issue that you have to handle, there is a way that you have to handle it so that it should bring out the necessary outcomes that you desire. It doesn't just happen by magic. It doesn't just happen by stroke of luck or by chance. I hope you're all following. Okay, so I'm going to begin right away. This is the difference between people who make it to the top 1% and people who stay at the bottom in life. It is not that it was designed for people to be poor or people to be rich or people to not perform in life. Everybody has an outcome that they will choose for themselves based on the actions that they take, because it is the actions that you take that determines the outcome of your life. I need to remember, it's very, very important. There is this thing that when I was doing my research earlier this afternoon, I noticed it's about Newton's law. I don't know how many of you did sciences, physics and all of this. It says Newton's first law states that an object at rest stays at rest and an object in motion stays in motion with the same speed and in the same direction unless acted upon by an unbalanced force. This is to say, if I hold, for example, this phone in this steady position and I don't throw it, I don't implement a kind of force to propel it up or to a different or to a particular direction, it is going to stay in that particular spot where it is. There's gonna be no change at all. There's no force that comes from nowhere. The force that is required to push you doesn't come from space. It comes from somewhere. So we're going to be looking at these little things because it's sometimes go unnoticeable to our eyes, to us. We don't really notice these things at times. But these are the things that sometimes really affect us so much so that the outcomes of our life are really that predominantly affected by what we do, and we don't really realize it. So you need to see, in real life we often say that you cannot move things, things are not moving. You hear statements like that, things are not going, things are not moving, yeah, we can be experiencing those kind of situations in our life. But the thing is, like we stated earlier, Newton's law, if an object has a mass of, let's say, 10 kilograms, you want to push it over a surface area of 1 meter or something, you cannot apply a force that is required to push a 5 kilograms. That is to say, required strength or required effort versus actual effort. You need to have the required effort in order to cause the change that you need, in order to push circumstances, in order to cause changes in your life. This is something we need to really look or take into consideration. So we're going to begin to explore the why people never start. Why people never start. Starting is very important. That is, it doesn't guarantee that you are going to succeed simply because you have started, but there is no guarantee of success if you don't start. That is the first thing that you need to know. The moment you start, you give chance, you give the opportunity for other things to begin to show up, for other things to begin to express themselves, to come in to the equation. But if you don't start, you allow that chance frozen. There is nothing that can come out of anything that is of space. You cannot start what you have not started. It's just as simple as that. You need to. Okay, we're going to see why people lack progress in life, why people do not start. Number one, we have low urgency. Urgency is the ability to consider time and the pressure required to do something. For example, I have an exams at 11 o'clock tomorrow. Here's somebody that is not going to take it urgently. He's not going to read. He's not going to have that pressure of the exams on him. He's just going to take everything just carefree. He's just going to be there like that. That lack of urgency is what makes people not to be able to start. And another reason for lack of urgency is that they always have a plan B, something to fall back to, something that they can look up to. If some things don't really work out, they're going to say, let me go to this one, let me go to that one. At least I have a backup somewhere, I have a backup plan. But if you came out of a home that you know that at all costs you need to be successful, there's no backup plan for you. The only backup plan that you have is yourself. Then you will have this sense of urgency that is required to really start. Number two, lack of desire. You don't see people, they don't really have the desire to do anything. They are just seated there. They call them lazy and ambitious people. They want to do things, but they don't want the things to get done by them. The people don't have the desire. That is, they are just working, they are just there. And these are people who observe, the observers, the people who are always sitting, commenting, not really taking any concrete action towards achieving anything great in their life. Number three, why people never start in life. Another thing is, number three is fear. You are afraid of what people will say, you are afraid of what people will think, what your teacher, your uncle, your mother, your father, your friend, we are afraid of what they are going to say. You want to start a business, you are overthinking because you are afraid of what they are going to say. You are afraid of their judgment, you are afraid of their opinion over what you are currently sticking to do. This is what is really holding a lot of people back from starting. Fear is simply false evidence appearing real. That is, it's something that it feels real to you, but it never exists. Fear, you need to also consider, it is 1,000 miles wide, but an inch, 1 inch deep. 1 inch is something like this, 1 inch deep, and even your finger, you cannot drown inside. So you see that fear, if you kill fear, it is going to be easy to really start at anything that you begin in life. Progress is going to begin to be easy. So the next thing, number 4, people play safe, playing safe at every moment, every given point in time. Playing safe means that you don't really give the attention 100%. People will never go all out. When they say all out, that means all your energy, you focus on that one thing until you begin to see the result. People always do one thing, they say this thing might not work, they go to another thing, they say it might not work. Another form of playing safe is also over planning, blaming. You see that you don't want to do this thing because you are thinking twice, you are thinking too much. The next thing, which is number 5, is planning addiction. You see people, they have a project. For example, you want to start up a new business, you have a business idea you want to implement. You plan from now to maybe the next 3 months, which normally you only need, let's say, 1 month or something to plan and gather what is required to start, or most of the times you always have what is required to start, but you always choose to extend that period of time. That is another form of playing safe. You are afraid of the outcome, so you are doing everything to prolong it so that you should not see it come. That is, your thought of it causes you to be afraid. So one thing that I would really advise each and everyone is, if you have any business idea, if you have the plan to write a book, if you have the plan to start up let's say creating content, doing a YouTube channel, doing anything, learning a new skill, it is an opportunity for you to give yourself the chance to succeed by starting. Don't say that you might if you fail, because also consider the flip side of it. What if you actually succeed at what you are doing? What if you actually succeed? What if you actually make it? So the threshold of some people, of most people, is that they believe that they are not going to make it. They believe that they will not make it. And which takes us to the next point, number 6, which is lack of self-belief. The first person that has the right to believe in you is you. Everybody has the right to doubt you until you prove them wrong. Everybody has the right to look down on you until you prove them wrong. You are the first person that should have the autonomy, the responsibility to take charge of your life, because these are things that nobody will ever get up and do for you as a favor. No, nobody can do that for you. You have the right, you have the responsibility to take action for your own self. That's very important. That is very important. There's this concept that I actually came up with. It's the compounding motion effect, which says that any extra effort applied to a moving object will not eliminate the previous motion. That is to say that if a car, for example, is already in motion, you apply an extra force, like you increase the speed at which it moves, it's not going to roll back and start back from the beginning or eliminate the previous effort that it has made. If you have already started on building something and then you put more effort onto building that thing, let's say learning a skill, you give it more time, you give it more resources, you give it more extra attention to learn that thing, it's not going to eliminate what you did previously. So you are going to be building on something. That means your effort also compounds, so that you can see the result of the compounding effect on you. That is your future self between now and the next 6 months depends entirely on what you do with your minutes, with your seconds, with your hours, with your days, and with your weeks. So you cannot expect to say, I'm going to change in one day, I'm going to change in 1 minute. This is something that is systematic and it is done on daily basis. If you are with me, I just want you to hit a thumbs up. Just hit a thumbs up to indicate. So you see, we should really be notorious of the things that we think about ourselves. Lack of self-belief is what is going to kill a lot of people. Number one, you need to believe in yourself. Believe in yourself. It's very important. Believe in yourself. Somebody who doesn't believe in himself is and has every resources required for life to succeed in life is going to be overpowered and overtaken by somebody who believes in himself and has nothing to start with at some point. Because if you don't have self-belief, that is the primary fuel that you need to start moving. So the next thing is how to start. A lot of people are going to wonder, so now that you have said this, how should I then start? What should I do in order to start? Where should I start from? You see that you need to start, and for you to be able to start, you need to create the right environment. It is so important. Your environment is one factor that determines most of the things that you are going to experience in life. For example, let's just take an example. If you are sitting around people who are constantly talking about ideas, building wealth, changing the nation, changing the world, ideas that are going to move millions from banks, you are not going to begin to start thinking like them over time. But if you just believe that, if you are just in an environment where people believe that you just need the bare minimum, you're just urgent 2K kind of environment, you are not going to have the mindset of abundance. So your environment is a primary programming factor for your outcome, and it is one of the most important and most influential things that you should really take note about. You should take note about this. That is, if you don't have the right environment, it's going to make success very hard. It's going to make success very hard. And if you cannot succeed, you are going to hate others who have succeeded. That is why you need to first of all make success easy by choosing the right environment. And starting should be easy, it shouldn't be hard. For example, you are around people who always motivate you, right? Who always push you to work harder. If you have an idea and you're in that kind of environment, you tell a brother, you tell a sister or a friend, it's like, what you told me the other day, what have you done about it? You told me that you wanted to start an e-commerce store, an e-commerce shop. You told me that you wanted to start a YouTube channel, you wanted to start creating content. Where are you with that thing right now? So that person serves as an environment. Another instance, you tell another person, the person will be like, oh, the last person that did it failed. Why do you want to do this kind of thing now? You don't have the resources, you don't have what it takes. Don't go into it, don't bend. People don't succeed with those kind of things. Meanwhile, you see that in life you have been proven so wrong. You have been proven wrong a lot of times. There's this documentary I was watching one time. It's the PayPal mafia. The people that are in that crew, we have the inventor of we have Elon Musk, the guy who owns LinkedIn, and most of the people that were in that crew are billion-dollar holders today. They created an environment in which their ideas could be able to thrive, their ideas could be able to succeed. It's like in that kind of environment, it makes it literally impossible to fail. If you step out, it's cold outside, you need to wear a pullover. That's because the environment, the weather is cold, and you need to put on something. That is, if it is hot, you need to remove it. So you see how your environment condition your actions, condition your beliefs. Gradually, that I gave an example of a weather, but it happens at every moment, every given point in time. So you see, which takes us now to the next point, which is creating reward systems. If you are wondering how to start something, look at the rewards that are related to that thing that you want to start. It might be long term, it might be short term. Short example, you feel that it's difficult to start up a YouTube channel, but if they tell you that 5 years, 10 years, 12 years down the line, you must have monetized it, you must have had a number of followers online, that is serving now as an extra source of income for you, or something that you can be doing and having time freedom and the resources, everything that you need is going to be coming from just that one channel. You don't see the benefits of doing it at this point in time, but in the long run, you consider the rewards of having that thing. You now say, this thing is worth me investing my time, energy and resources into it. So you need to establish incentives, celebrate little milestones, celebrate. There is psychologists understood that once it's easy for you to start something, once they make it easy for you to start something, your starting is equal to an investment that you have made. Like you want to start up a business, you have already bought a few things that will help you, you have already seen a few people that are going to assist you, you reach out to a few suppliers that are going to supply the product that you want to sell, or the raw material that you want to use in order to produce what to sell. So the moment you get the first win, okay, you made the first call, you got the person that is going to supply, he said yes, he has everything, and he's also even going to give you at a good price. You see that is a win for you already at the start. It motivates you more, it makes you want to do more. You start up, maybe you start creating content, you see you already have significant results, people are reacting positively to what you are doing. That is a milestone. You need to celebrate those little moments. The error that a lot of people do is to make it casual. That is, they treat it like it's just anything, anyhow. Simply because they haven't gotten the big wins yet, they don't celebrate the little ones that they have gotten, and that is a very big mistake. That is a very big mistake a lot of people end up making, and it kills momentum. How does it kill momentum? You have an opportunity to celebrate something that motivates you, you don't, then you keep it aside, you say it's too small. So it is your desire to move, to start, to continue. It's not going to keep compounding, because that force which you would have gotten from celebrating the initial success, the first milestone, would have served as something that will propel you even higher to want to do more. That is why they always, teachers in class, they always start giving very easy, simple exercises, so that you can now be able to succeed in the exercises, and then you want to do more. Have you now seen the psychology behind it? That they are going to teach something very complex, but they'll give you a very simple exercise to try out, and that is how they do. The next thing is just start. just start. Sometimes you don't really need motivation to start, you just need to start. The best time that you can be able to start something is the moment you have that idea, because the longer you wait, the harder it is to begin to implement it. The longer you take to take action, the harder it becomes to actually start implementing it. For example, you want to create content, you want to learn a new skill, but you keep ruminating on the idea. You don't even write it down. You don't even bother about the least things. When you don't even gather, you don't know the resources, what it takes in order to start up that thing. You don't bother at all. In that situation, you are not going to have any milestone. You are not going to have any success recorded in order for you to get motivated from them. You are not going to have anything that will cause you want to go higher. And a lot of people, as we mentioned, why people don't start at the starting of the webinar, they play safe. They already have a backup somewhere. That is one of the reasons why they don't start. They have a backup somewhere. They have an uncle or an auntie that if things don't work out, they're going to go to. So now their mind, they don't have that urgency anymore to say, this is my last hope, this is my all and all. If I don't succeed, I am finished. Many people don't have that audacity to make that proclamation that I am going to go into this and I'm going to succeed no matter what it takes, no matter how it is, because they have a backup plan somewhere. So one thing that I'll encourage you, just start. Sometimes it doesn't really require rocket science in order to begin. You just need to start. You don't even need motivation at times. Just start. Just for the sake of the fact that you want to get something work. You want to see something that you actually are doing work. Just start it. Just start it. That business. If you have a business idea today that you haven't started yet, go and write it down. Write it. Begin to plan, structure it in such a way that you begin to see more things about the thing reveal itself, about the business reveal, where you have to outsource your raw materials, the kind of avatar that you have to sell to. Make research, do enough research. That is one way of starting. It doesn't have to be first brute force. You need to strategically move. It's very important, very, very important. So if you are getting value from what I'm doing, just take a screenshot, send it to the group, invite somebody to be able to join us, and make them know that we are live, that we are there. So how to stay long enough in a game? Before I even go to this section, I'm going to emphasize on something that I actually noticed, that the gap between your idea, the gap between the time that you have an idea and the time that you begin to implement the idea, that time in between is called the implementation ratio. That is idea to implementation ratio. For example, this issue of time is measured in units, and you have seconds, minutes, days, years, weeks. This is what is used to actually measure time. We know that already. So what is actually used to measure the fact that you have started based on when you got the idea? This is where this concept comes in now. So you have an idea today and you implement it after 10 years. That means your ratio is 1:10, which is very, very, very bad. 1:10 years, which is very bad. You have an idea today, something that if you start, you know that you are going to succeed, but you wait longer and longer and longer. It takes you 1 extra year to be able to start. This is something that a lot of people are going through right now. You have an inspiration, an idea, a pulling, like you know that you just have to do this, you just have to get it done no matter what, but you don't still do it. Why? You need to understand this concept. The moment the time between your ideation and implementation is shrinked, your chances of success begins to increase. Why is it that if the gap is small, it's going to increase your chances of success? Number one, because that time you would have gotten feedback. Let me use my hand. You would have gotten enough feedback on what is good about the idea, what should be adjusted, what should be changed, and what should not be there. That is so that you can focus on just the main idea. Did you know YouTube didn't start as a place where you go and watch videos? It started as a dating app. Facebook, as we all know, the idea came and it was to connect people to chat. Where along the line did the idea of using it now to run ads come in? That is because they already had the data that they can be able to do it. Once you start early, it creates data. You have data, enough data, information, concrete information. And once you have this information, you have the ability to analyze and have the right results. After analyzing, you now have a brighter, that is an enlightened mind, that you can now take this action and it is going to work. And even if it doesn't work, I will still use it as feedback in order to continue iterating, sharpening, becoming better. But you don't have this privilege if you don't start. So as from today, make sure anything that you're struggling to start with, if you don't know how, or if you just want somebody, or you want to create an environment, someone that is going to be reminding you that do this. If you don't have that kind of a person and you want to do something great, you can DM me, you can text me. I'm going to constantly be reminding you that get that thing done, get it done. And it is going to you're going to see how it's going to cause a shift in your mind and in your outcomes. That is how you get your first wins. So it's really important, guys. This life is not to live it in an ordinary way. This life is not to be lived like you are trying to please people. You are not trying to please people with the outcomes of your life. You are trying to create a significant impact, and you don't need permission for that. You don't need permission from anybody. You don't. So the next thing is adapting. How to stay long enough in the game. Okay, this is the point where you have already begun, you have already started, and you are like, how do I continue? This is where the question comes in. How do I continue? At that point, this is what you should do. Number one, you need to begin to adapt quickly. Your speed of adaptation determines how long you are going to stay in the business. For example, if you look at most of these businesses today, whether it's most of the businesses that have now implemented artificial intelligence into their systems. Why is it that they did that? Because they adapted to the movement of the current trends. Now it's AI, and AI is taking over almost literally everything. It's taking over, and if you don't adapt to it, you are going to at some point be obsolete. And somebody learns this the hard way, and that person is Nokia. There was an invention that came up. There was a phone, the punch phone. a punch phone. It came out, and Nokia was one of the highest selling, one of the best brands when it comes to phones sales. They were the best, the highest. Another brand, Apple, they came up with a phone that you can touch, manipulate the screen. They were like, somebody, the person that even came up with the idea reached out to Nokia that, can you take this idea? We found a new way to be able to do the same thing that you were doing before. But they rejected the idea. They were like, we don't care. We are the best in the industry. We are the most relevant at the point. And that is how Apple kicked them out, and they became irrelevant. They became obsolete. So you need to see, the moment you have started, it's not everything. It is not everything. You need to really need to adapt. Adaptability, adaptation. That is why you see, whenever a chameleon it goes to a different environment, it begins to camouflage. Its colors change to the colors of that environment. That is adaptation from its physical body. If you don't learn adaptation, one thing is you're always going to fall in some unnecessary trouble, some kind of things, that some opportunities that you would have taken advantage of, you will miss it because you could not adapt to them. And which takes us to the second thing, which is act fast, speed. We go back to our example of Apple and Nokia. So Nokia had that is, somebody came and presented the idea of making a phone, a touchscreen phone, to Nokia. They denied. They didn't embrace the idea when it came at first. So they didn't take action on the thing the time that it came. Now the person went to Apple. They embraced the idea. Apple now in that they did the innovation, but the problem is, it's not even that they did not embrace it early enough. It's that they took so long to see that the idea is actually a viable idea and is something that can cause change. So you see that these things are, once you don't notice them, it's going to be hard, really hard for you to achieve some certain levels in life. You need to really act fast. There are some windows of opportunities that are never going to last more than 10 minutes. Imagine somebody comes to you and said, we need your CV between now and the next 20 minutes. There is a job opportunity that fits your ability. If you can't send it, or if you didn't have it before that time, it is going to, that is how the opportunity is going to pass you by. So you see that it's always important. Speed is always an advantage once you are going in the right direction. Which takes us to the next point, which is stand your ground. This is where stamina comes in, resilience. You need to be strong. Stand, that is, maintain your values. Maintain your values. Because you are not going to stay long enough in the game if you can't keep defining who you are, so that the new people that are coming into the space should know that this is what I am, this is who I am. I don't change. I am improving. I am in this, I am in that. So you see, it's really important. Let's take note of this. Standing your ground is very important, because many people at a certain level of success are going to receive things that are going to suggest, like suggestions. They are going to receive all sorts of suggestions to them, that go this way, or life at some point is going to hit them. You see, an employee will suddenly get up in the morning, will say, I'm no longer coming to work. Your working partner, your co-founder is going to say, I am out of business, we can't continue work together. You need to stand your ground in those moments. You don't need to panic. That is where strong people they stand. Steve Jobs, he was kicked out of Apple. He didn't go and start I started crying that I was kicked out, there's nothing I can do. The guy went and started Next. He started a different company called Next, and that company was bought by Apple. So you see that it's always important to stand your ground, no matter what. Never lose your cool. That is one thing that if you do, then you are gone finally. Then the last thing which we are going to talk about on this aspect is building systems. What are systems? Looking at a bike, how it operates, the engine, how it's linked to the tanking, how it's linked to the fuel, how it's linked to the tires, how they operate as a whole body. No matter what, if you start a bike and you are not controlling it, you just start it and allow it, it's going to be going, because that is how it's programmed to go. Like for example, a car, rather, if you start a car and you allow it maybe on autopilot, self-driving cars, they're going to keep going, because that is how they have been built. There's a system, and system precedes structures. You cannot have systems if you don't have structures that are robust, helping you to really stand, helping you to stand. One thing you need to know, how to stay long enough in a game doesn't depend on your energy, because you are going to get weak at some point. So at that time, you are going to depend more on systems that you have created. What are the kind of systems that you can create around you? Your friends that is having friends, having people that are going to constantly make sure that you are accountable to your goals, the things that you have said. That is a kind of system. You get up in the morning, you don't feel as to study. Your friend calls you, it's like, I read 3 pages, I read 4 pages. Then you are like, what? I am joking. Then you go and read. That is it has created like a system around you, like an environment that says no matter what, you must stick to your goals, you must stick to what you said you are going to do. You are a businessman, you get up in the morning, you have not posted for the past 1 week that you have been doing business. You have not posted to any social media platform. That's because you lack the environment that makes it possible for you to be able to be consistent. So once you have reached a certain level, it is dangerous to be alone. So you cannot really succeed alone at a certain point. Willpower is not always enough. You are going to need systems around you. One thing you need to understand about the brain, I came to understand this pretty early, and I'm so grateful for that, is that it is always scanning your environment to watch out for threats, to watch out for things that can rather pull you down instead of pushing you up. Your brain is constantly scanning the environment. It's always on flight mode, trying to either I want to run, either I want to escape. That's why you notice it always looks for reasons why something will never work. By default, your brain always looks for reasons why something will never work. So you need to see it this way. The moment you understand yourself, that this is how I am, it's going to be easy for you to get started. You have that business idea, you know that if I tell this friend, it's going to discourage me, I'll just start and I'll not even bother. The person will just discover along the way that I've started. You know that if I have this thing that I want to do and I don't want to get discouraged, or I know that if I am in this particular environment, it's going to prevent me from doing it, then I leave the environment, then go to a different place and try to see how I can grow gradually. You create a community that makes it impossible for you to fail around you. That is one thing. That's one thing. So I strongly believe that anybody can be hyper successful. Anybody, irrespective of where you're coming from, irrespective of what you're doing. Whether you're a student, you can be successful in business, but you need to give yourself the opportunity to start. You need to give yourself the opportunity to start. Unless you start, it is going to literally be impossible to see that you can make it, because you didn't start in the first place. People who start, they have evidence that they can go a step further because they have already made the first step, and then they can make the second step. They can keep moving because they know that they have started, and that starting, it has given them the momentum, the courage that they need in order to keep going. So I always encourage you guys, even if it's small as what, start. Even if it's as little, don't think that you need everything put in place at first before you are able to be successful. Don't think that you need the whole world. No, you don't need all of that. You just need what it takes for you to be able to start, and it is always very minimal. You want to start content creation, you have your phone already, you have maybe a ring light, you can just start with it. You don't need a whole gear of camera workers. You don't need a $10,000 gear that is going to, you don't need all of that. You just need to start with the little that you have. And the advantages of starting early, as we have discussed, is going to give you enough feedback. Once you get that feedback, you can be able to build gradually, iterate, and that's how you get speed, the speed that you need. Get the speed that you need. But you can't do that if you don't have the right information in the first place. So I really encourage us. Starting is very important. Don't wait. If you want to do something, like I said earlier, you want to create an accountability system, somebody that is going to be keeping you accountable, then you can text me. I'm going to always make sure that you begin until you reach a certain stage. You want to start learning a new skill, come into my DM. I'm going to make sure that you never skip a single day. That is one thing that I'm very good at, and I am giving the opportunity now. So start that business idea, start it, no matter what. So I want to open the floor. Like, I want you to share the kind of challenges that you have had that has made it difficult for you to begin to implement some certain things that you have been having, the ideas that you have been having. The floor is open. Whosoever has. Okay, Wesley, go ahead.
Yes, so thank you very, very much. Good evening to everyone.
Good evening.
An amazing session so far, talking about how to take action. It's the time of sharing the challenges we face. One of the challenges I have faced in a while now is actually the idea comes in, you know, this energy we always have. Yeah. Like, okay, this is it. And then I write it down, and then it's as I just keep it, and the zeal is dying down, and after a while, maybe 2 to 3 days, I can no longer take hold of what I even felt. And the picture I had in mind, and it actually breaks, it just breaks everything down. I believe that taking action, as you rightly said, when things are not, when it's still messy, when we have not figured out everything, yes, it's still very important. Thank you very much.
Yeah, definitely. As you said, there's a point where you have a high level of energy, but another level of energy is for champions, where you don't feel as to, but you have to. That's where systems now come in. Systems that you don't really depend so much or only on discipline. You don't really depend only on your own willpower. You get things done irrespective of how you feel. That's now the realm of champions. That's where they live. So systems is very important. I've actually learned this, and it has really been of great help. Systems. Who else has an experience that they would love to share? Azel, yeah, go ahead.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mick, for the speech. Like I, for one, I had this I will not call it a business, but it was giving me profit. So based on your reward system, there was a point in time that the profit was coming in. Then after a certain time, it started decreasing. That was 2 years ago, and now the business is just there. I make nothing from it. Like even to put in the effort, it's very difficult. So I don't know how the reward system, like in my case, as the rewards reduced or like they were not visible, like I just withdrew myself. Like over the months, as the months progressed, I just kept removing myself from the whole business, and now I put little or no effort into it.
Yeah, I
Yeah, that's
understand. What was the business all about?
like I said, it was not a business, but it was like an online system that I found that could generate me money. It was
Okay,
like content, but more of writing.
okay,
I was not
okay.
doing videos or stuff like that.
Yeah, I get it. I get it. So at the beginning, you got the reward, but always know that you're not going to always have to depend on the reward all every time at every given point in time. Sometimes, like I mentioned earlier, there is the required work versus the actual work that is being put. So once you have the required work, the required result will come. But if you just have the actual work, so that's why you hear people say, "I'm hardworking, but nothing is changing." You are not hardworking enough to cause things to change, even though you are hardworking. You get it now? So it is applied in every concept. Like I mentioned earlier, I took an example of business. You are doing business. You have not posted for the past 1 week. How do you expect customers to keep coming in? They need to see that you are doing your work. Like that, there is something that you need to do in order to cause a required action outcome. So it's always very important to understand the kind of thing that you're venturing into. It's not just about I want to start this, you need to have the knowledge that also, for example, there are some businesses that at some point it's like it has hit a wall that it's almost impossible to scale. But once you find out what you can unlock it with, it takes another leap. So that is how these things work gradually. What's another experience?
I have a question on
Yeah, I'm listening. I can't get you.
okay. One of my challenges in business is that I always want to make my customers happy. I am like I told you before, I want to go to supply
Yeah, you mentioned that.
items like maybe I give them another. So in recent times, I source some material from some customers. So most of the materials are always made in China. You understand, they are made in China, and in Nigeria, sometimes their quality can be so you can't really trust them. So at a point, I got some items for some customers and getting feedback from them. I always want to see whether the customers is happy with what I get, but getting some complaints usually affect my business. How do I go?
Okay, you're saying you're getting complaints after that you have supplied products to
Yes, exactly.
the client.
Yes.
What kind of products were they specifically?
Like electronics, sometimes
Electronics.
electronics, different things.
China. It's from China.
Yes, and if you look at, I wrote something down in the message, you can go to it, understand it. They are made in China, and sometimes the supplier will give you, they will tell you they are good. You just have to take their word. By the time you get it home, and you are getting something else.
That's
They are just starting the business.
one thing is when it comes to Chinese products, it's very good to be very, very careful. It's not like they don't have good ones, so you need to get the where you can get outsource the right product. Sometimes you can try different suppliers to see the quality and who is also consistent with supplying good stuff. Personally, from my experience, I don't use one supplier for anything. I have different suppliers for my products, different suppliers. Like if I'm for my packaging, for example, I have two people that I always reach out to. For I also have a laptop business that I do. I have more than one supplier, so it makes it possible for me. It reduces my chances of falling into shock. We usually call it shock. It reduces my chances of falling into shock. So it always reach out to more people. But I think this is the risk involved. For you to reach out, you need to test, and for you to test, you need to spend. So that is the risk involved. What you see might not always be what you get, especially with Chinese products. That's how Chinese products are. So anyway, we have turned it into a business something. That's not actually the main idea, but we see how we have applied the idea of just starting to business. You can apply it to education, writing a book. Your first idea, just put it down into writing. You see, your life is going to significantly shift. So that's something I really, really recommend. I wish everybody has the ability to just start like that. Like you get that fire that is burning inside of you to start, then you just one way go at the click of a finger. So I'm really happy that you are all here, and I've come to the end of this session. So I would really like that we begin to see results. We begin to see results. We begin to start, get feedback, iterate, become better at the things that we do. It might not be something big at the beginning. I would have vlogged that there was time so that I should tell my story. Next time I'm going to tell you how I started this business. You're going to see.